So I thought of this new definition of listening last night. And you know how people compare the mind to the surface of the ocean or like a pool of water, and if you still the mind, you can see the reflection of the moon in the water, or if you're like quiet, if you listen, allegedly you can see the truth. Or if you like smoke DMT, you can break through into ultimate reality, right? So what is that breakthrough that you can have if you give yourself brain damage using drugs, or if you listen, whatever that word means, right? And I think what the word listen means is to notice this. Is like every perception, thought, feeling, sensation, emotion is like a wave on the surface of the ocean. It's like all your nerves are firing, your breathing's happening, all these waves and these cycles are happening, and like the frequency that they happen at creates a picture, creates an image, just like you would see an image created in the waves of an ocean. Like you are a body of water with waves being created in it by all the sensations coming in, quite literally, right? So it's like everything that you are and that you could think of experiencing is those waves. And so those waves are there just like the waves in the surface of the ocean are there. It's identical. It's a fractal identical. You're a smaller body of water, but just like the ocean, full of waves, full of cycles. And so then ultimate reality would be like the ocean doesn't exist in isolation. The ocean is part of the sky and the earth and the sun and the space. It's all the creatures in it, all the creatures outside of it. Like that's the rest of the world. That the mind, like the ocean implies all of that. The ocean exists inside of all of that, and it is part of all of that. That's reality. And then the self, or all the thoughts, are happening as an imprinting of that reality on a body of water. And so when you look at that imprinting, it's almost like if you get really good at it and kind of mental, you can almost see more. You can see more information in the imprinting than you can when you just look out at it. Right? Like the way that you can kind of know more when you're in a cell phone. Like you know what everybody's doing everywhere all the time and what everybody's thinking and all that. Like that's what you know when you're looking into a cell phone, which is, again, it's like an imprinting of reality is imprinting into the cell phone, which imprinting into a mental construct. So you, like, if you get really good at thinking, you can become enamored with it to the degree that you are separated from or divorced from like the ultimate nature of reality, of which all those thoughts and sensations and things like that are happening in the mind, right? Like in the body of water, that's such a small, tiny, it's as much of a lower dimension as like the pattern, like when the sun shoots off a solar flare, you'll get like increased waves on the ocean. Right? So there's a reflection, like sun explodes, then you see the ocean waves change, right? So the information is there, it's reflected, like that's how it's reflected. So you can, like when a flare is obvious, so it makes these big waves, but it's like the ocean's constantly reflecting the sun and everything else, right? And then that reflection is a lower dimensional representation of the reality that it's reflecting. So it's like this like if the narcissist thing is broken, right? The person that loses themselves in the reflection in the mirror. That's when you see what is being reflected. and then that's the breakthrough. So you're not really going anywhere, because it's as much there as the world is next to the surface of the ocean. It's like the surface of the ocean is not separate from everything else. So at any point, like, you can look at that, and then that's as beyond anything you can imagine as like the volcano is from its reflection in the water. So people that are materialists, like people that are in this world, people that are in this world are genuinely like people that are like in a virtual reality or whatever. And there's something about like that spiritual truth becoming physical, like the way that we're all being sucked into the cell phones, or potentially having the virtual world inserted into your head with a chip. Any of those Matrix style scenarios is like it doesn't really make sense. I think it's the always approaching apocalypse of that sort of thing happening, but it just can't, right? If you look at the mechanics, like the reflection's going to take over. So the materialistic world is not in charge, right? Which is a tough pill to swallow. That's a black pill. So I would redefine the word listening as just the act of looking at all of that, instead of looking at something that you could think about. And you can't help but be inspired by it, but it's like you don't want to regurgitate inspiration, is the wisdom of the day, whatever that even means.